Welcome to English Prime Podcast. Let's get started.
Hey, English learners. Welcome back to English Prime Podcast. Here, we learn real English through simple conversations, daily life stories, and powerful communication tips. So relax, enjoy, and let's improve your English together. I'm Emma.
And I am Jake. Here we help you improve your English by talking about real experiences, simple ideas, and everyday situations. Because sometimes the easiest way to learn a language is by talking about the things you already know.
Exactly. And today, we are talking about something we all experience every single day, our daily life.
Yeah, and I think this is actually one of the most useful topics for English learners, because every person has a day. Every person has a routine, and every person has small stories to share.
That's true. Sometimes people think they need big or interesting topics to practice English. They think they need to talk about travel, success, or something special. But actually, your normal day gives you so many things to talk about.
Right. You can talk about when you wake up, what you do in the morning, how you spend your afternoon, what happens at work or school, and even how you feel at the end of the day.
And I think that's what makes daily conversations so powerful. When you talk about your own life, you are not just learning words. You are learning how to express yourself naturally.
Exactly. You start understanding how people really communicate. You learn simple phrases, natural sentences, and the kind of English people use in everyday conversations.
And while you listen today, try to notice the way we talk about our routines and experiences. Don't worry about remembering every single word. Just listen, understand, and enjoy the conversation.
Because improving English is not only about studying, it's also about listening, practicing, and becoming comfortable with the language.
Yeah, and speaking about your day is a great place to start. Think about it. When someone asks you, "How was your day?" what do you usually say?
That's an interesting question. A lot of people say something simple like, "It was good," or "I'm tired," and then the conversation ends.
Exactly. But there is so much more you can say. You can describe your morning, your work, your plans, your feelings, and even small moments that happen during the day.
And that's what we are going to explore today. How to talk about your day in a simple and natural way, and how to make everyday English conversations easier.
So if you enjoy these kinds of real conversations, make sure to like the video and stay with us until the end, because we'll also practice some useful English phrases together.
Yeah, and now let's start with something simple that everyone can talk about, the beginning of their day. I think mornings are interesting because everyone has a different way of starting their day.
That's true. Some people wake up very early and feel ready to do everything, while others need a little more time to feel awake. Everyone has their own morning style.
Exactly. And this is actually a great thing to talk about in English because your morning routine is something you already know. You don't have to create a story. You just describe what you normally do.
Right. For example, you can talk about what time you wake up, what you do after getting out of bed, or how you prepare yourself for the day.
Yeah, simple things like saying, "I wake up at 7," or "I get ready for work" are small sentences, but they are very useful in real conversations.
And I think one thing learners sometimes forget is that they don't need to make their sentences complicated. Natural English is often simple.
I agree. A person doesn't usually say a long and perfect sentence when talking about their morning. They just share their experience, like, "I wake up early, have breakfast, and start my day."
Exactly. And adding small details makes your conversation more interesting. Instead of only saying, "I have breakfast," you can say, "I usually have breakfast with my family before I start working."
That's a great point. Those little details help people understand your life better, and they also help you practice more English without feeling like you are studying.
Yeah, because your daily routine is connected to your real life. You can talk about your favorite part of the morning, things you don't like, or even how you feel.
For example, someone might say, "I like quiet mornings because they help me feel relaxed," or "I don't like rushing in the morning because it makes my day stressful."
I like that because now we are not just talking about actions, we are also talking about feelings, and that makes the conversation much more natural.
Exactly.
A good conversation is not only about what you do, it's also about why you do it and how you feel about it.
And after the morning, of course, everyone moves into the busiest part of the day. That's when work, studies, and daily responsibilities usually begin.
Right. And that part of the day also gives us many things to talk about in English, because most people spend a big part of their day doing different tasks and activities.
Exactly. After the morning routine, we usually enter the busiest part of our day. For some people, it's work. For others, it's school, studying, or taking care of different responsibilities.
Yeah, and when people talk about their day, this is usually the biggest part of the conversation. They often say things like, I went to work, I attended a class, or I worked on a project.
And these are very common situations, so learning how to describe them can really help you in everyday conversations. You don't need advanced English. You just need to explain what you normally do.
That's true. For example, someone can say, I spend most of my morning working, or I usually study in the afternoon. Simple sentences like these can tell people a lot about your day.
I also think it's interesting because everyone's busy hours look different. One person might have meetings all day, while another person might be learning new skills or completing assignments.
Yeah, and that difference makes conversations more interesting. When someone asks, what do you do during the day? They are not only asking about your tasks, they are also trying to understand your lifestyle.
Exactly. And when you answer, you can add small details. Instead of saying, I work, you can say, I work from home and usually start my tasks in the morning.
Or you can say, I have a busy schedule, but I take short breaks to stay focused. I like this kind of sentence because it sounds natural and it shows how your day really feels.
Yes, and talking about breaks is important too. Sometimes people think being productive means working nonstop, but small breaks can actually help you continue with more energy.
I agree. A lot of people have long days, and knowing how to talk about those moments helps you express yourself better. You can say, I take a break after finishing my work, or I relax for a few minutes before starting again.
And another thing people can talk about is challenges during the day, because not every day goes perfectly. Sometimes you feel tired, sometimes you have a lot to do, and sometimes things don't go as planned.
That's a good point. Real conversations are not only about happy moments. If someone asks, how was your day? You can honestly say, it was busy, or it was stressful, but I finished everything.
Exactly. Adding feelings makes your answer more complete. It helps people connect with your story instead of just hearing a list of activities.
And I think this is where many learners can improve. They often describe their day like a list. I did this, then I did that. But a better conversation includes your thoughts and experiences too.
Right. Your day is not just a schedule. It's a story. You can talk about what happened, what you learned, and how you felt during those moments.
And after finishing all those responsibilities, most people finally get some personal time. That's when they can relax, enjoy their hobbies, and recharge after a busy day.
Exactly. And that relaxing part of the day is also something we can talk about, because evenings often show how people spend time for themselves.
Yeah, after a busy day, most people want a little time to slow down and enjoy something they like. For some people, it might be watching a show, reading a book, exercising, or simply spending time with family.
That's true. And I think this part of the day is really important because it helps people feel refreshed. A day is not only about work and responsibilities. We also need moments where we can relax and enjoy ourselves.
Exactly. Sometimes even a simple evening can make a big difference. Maybe you sit with your family, talk with a friend, or just enjoy a quiet moment after a long day.
And these are also great things to talk about in English. You can easily describe your evening routine by saying what you do after your work or studies are finished.
Right. For example, you can say, after work, I usually relax for a while. Or, I spend my evening watching videos and preparing for the next day.
I like that because it sounds very natural. People don't always talk about big events. They often talk about small things, like what they did after dinner or how they spent their free time.
Yeah, and those small conversations are actually very common. Someone might ask, what did you do last night? And you can answer with simple details from your evening.
Exactly. You could say, I went for a walk, I hung out with my friends, or I stayed home and rested. Simple answers can keep a conversation going.
And another interesting thing is that people relax in different ways. Some people need a quiet evening after a busy day, while others like doing something active.
That's a good point. What about you, Jake? After a long day, what do you usually do to relax?
Honestly, I like having some quiet time first. I usually take a little break, listen to something, and then spend time doing things I enjoy. It helps me forget about the stress of the day.
That sounds nice. I think many people can relate to that. Sometimes we don't need anything special. Just a peaceful evening can help us feel better.
Exactly. And I think this is another useful way to improve English. When you talk about your free time, you are not only describing actions, you are sharing your personality too.
Yes, because your hobbies and habits tell people who you are. Someone who loves reading, someone who enjoys sports, and someone who likes spending time with others will all describe their evenings differently.
Right. And adding these details makes your English sound more natural. Instead of just saying, I watch TV, you can say, I watch TV to relax after a busy day.
That small extra information makes a big difference. It turns a simple sentence into a real conversation.
And there is one more thing we should talk about. When people describe their day, they often talk about what they did, but they don't always talk about how they felt.
Exactly. And feelings are a big part of our daily life. Two people can have a similar day, but their experiences can feel completely different. One person may feel happy, while another person may feel tired or stressed.
And learning how to explain those feelings is what makes everyday conversations more honest and meaningful.
Exactly. Because when someone asks, "How was your day?" they usually don't only want to know what you did. They also want to know how your day felt for you.
That's true. A simple answer like, I worked today, gives information, but adding your feelings makes it more personal. You can say, I had a busy day, or I felt tired, but it was a good day.
Yes, and I think this is where many English learners can improve. They focus a lot on actions, but they forget that emotions are also a big part of communication.
Right. When we talk with friends or family, we naturally share our feelings. We say things like, I was excited, I was stressed, or I was happy because something good happened.
And these small words can completely change a conversation. Imagine two people talking about the same day. One person says, I had meetings. Another person says, I had a busy day with many meetings, but I learned something new.
Exactly. The second person is telling more of a story. It feels more natural because we understand the experience behind the words.
I also think it's important for learners to remember that not every day has to be amazing. Some days are difficult, and that's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Some days are relaxing, some days are stressful, and some days are just normal. Being able to explain all kinds of days helps you communicate better.
For example, you might say, today was a little challenging because I had a lot of work, or I felt relaxed because I had some free time in the evening.
Those are great examples because they connect the event with the feeling. You're not just saying what happened, you're explaining your experience.
And I think that's what makes everyday conversations interesting. People want to know your story, not just a list of activities.
Exactly. When someone tells you about their day, you can imagine their morning, their busy moments, and how they felt at the end of it.
And sometimes sharing small feelings can even bring people closer. If someone says, I had a difficult day, you can understand them and ask more questions.
Yeah, like, what happened? Or, why was your day difficult? That's how real conversations continue.
And this is a useful skill in English too. Instead of giving short answers, you learn how to keep the conversation alive.
Right. You can add details, share your thoughts, and make the other person interested in your story.
But there's also one more thing that can make talking about your day easier. Sometimes people know what they want to say, but they don't know how to connect their ideas smoothly.
Exactly. And that's where using simple connecting words and making your sentences flow can really improve the way you describe your day.
Yes, because sometimes learners know many words, but when they try to speak, their ideas feel separate. They say one sentence, then another sentence, but the conversation doesn't feel connected.
That's true. For example, someone might say, I woke up, I ate breakfast, I went to work. It's understandable, but it sounds more like a list.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with simple sentences. They are a great starting point. But when you add small connecting words, your English starts sounding more natural.
Right. You can say, I woke up early, and after that, I had breakfast before going to work. It feels more like you are sharing a story.
I like that because it shows the order of your day. Words like after that, later, before, and usually help people follow what you were saying.
Yeah, and these words are very useful in everyday conversations. You don't need difficult vocabulary. Simple words can make your speaking much smoother.
Another thing is adding small details. Instead of saying, I studied, you can say, I studied for 2 hours because I had an important exam.
Exactly. The extra detail makes the listener understand your situation better. It also gives them a chance to ask more questions.
And that's how real conversations work. One person shares something and the other person becomes curious and continues the conversation.
Right. If someone says, I studied for 2 hours because I had an exam, you might ask, how did it go? Or was it difficult?
Exactly. A good conversation is not about giving perfect answers. It's about sharing and connecting with another person.
And I think many learners forget that their daily life is already enough practice. You don't have to wait until you learn advanced English.
Yes, your morning, your work, your hobbies, your challenges, and your feelings are all topics you can use to improve.
Because the more you talk about your own life, the easier it becomes to speak naturally.
And that reminds me of a story about someone who thought their daily life was too simple to talk about, but later they realized even ordinary days can have interesting moments.
That's a great point. And I think this story will show why your everyday experiences are more valuable than you might think.
Yeah, I remember hearing about someone who was learning English and always felt like they had nothing interesting to say. They thought, my life is too normal. I don't have exciting stories to share.
I think a lot of learners feel that way. They compare themselves with people who travel, have unusual experiences, or do something special, and they think their own life is not worth talking about.
Exactly. But this person decided to try something different. They started describing their normal day in English, even the small things.
That's interesting. So instead of waiting for a big story, they started with simple moments?
Yes, they talked about waking up in the morning, making breakfast, going to work, and what they did after coming home. At first, they only made very short sentences.
Like, I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work.
Exactly. But slowly, they started adding more details. They said things like, I usually wake up early because I like quiet mornings. Or, after work, I spend time with my family because it helps me relax.
That's a big change. The day itself didn't change, but the way they described it became better.
Right. And that's the important lesson. Your life doesn't need to be extraordinary to practice English. You just need to learn how to share your experiences.
I really like that, because sometimes we forget that small moments can create good conversations. A simple walk, a busy day, or even a small problem can become something meaningful when you explain it.
Exactly. And that person also became more confident because they realized, I actually have many things to talk about.
And I think that's something every English learner can remember. Your daily life is already full of practice opportunities.
Yes, every morning, every task, and every feeling can help you improve. You don't need to wait for the perfect topic. You can start with your own story.
And this connects with something important. When people struggle with English, it's often not because they don't know enough. Sometimes they just don't know how to use what they already know.
Exactly. And that's why small changes in the way you speak can make a big difference. You can take simple sentences and turn them into real conversations.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when learning English is waiting until they feel completely ready before they start speaking.
That's true. Many learners think, I need more words, or I need perfect grammar first. But in reality, speaking improves when you actually use the language.
Exactly. It's like any other skill. The more you practice, the more comfortable you become. Even if your sentences are simple in the beginning, you are still building confidence.
And another common mistake is trying to translate everything from your first language. Sometimes people spend too much time searching for the perfect sentence, and they stop speaking naturally.
Right. Instead of looking for a complicated way to say something, it's better to use simple English that clearly explains your idea.
For example, you don't need a difficult sentence to describe your evening. You can simply say, I was tired, so I rested at home. That already sounds natural.
Exactly. Simple does not mean bad. In everyday conversations, simple and clear English is often the best choice.
And I think another helpful mindset is to look at your day differently. Don't think, nothing happened today. Try to notice small moments.
Yeah, because every day has something you can talk about. Maybe you learned something, solved a problem, helped someone, or even had a small, enjoyable moment.
And when you start noticing these things, you automatically get more topics to practice English.
That's the key. Your life becomes your practice material. You don't need to create situations. You already have real experiences around you.
Exactly. So the next time someone asks you, "How was your day?" don't just say, "Good." Try adding one or two more details.
For example, say, "My day was busy, but I finished my work." Or, "I had a relaxing evening after a long day." Small additions make conversations much better.
And now we want to hear from you. What does your normal day look like?
Yes, tell us about it in the comments. You can write a few sentences in English about your morning, your work or studies, and how you spend your evening.
Don't worry about making it perfect. The goal is to practice and become more comfortable expressing yourself.
And who knows, your answer might even inspire someone else to start practicing too. So share your experience with us, and let's continue improving together.
Now, let's quickly look at some useful English from our conversation. These are simple phrases that you can use in your daily life when you talk about your routine, your activities, and your feelings.
Yeah, and I think these expressions are useful because they are not only for this topic. You can use them in many everyday conversations with friends, family, or even at work.
The first phrase is start my day. It simply means to begin your day or begin your daily activities. We often use it when talking about our morning routine. For example, you can say, "I start my day with a healthy breakfast."
I like this phrase because it sounds very natural. Instead of saying, "I begin my daily activities," which sounds a little formal, people usually say, "I start my day." It's a simple phrase that you can use very often.
Another useful phrase is get ready. This means to prepare yourself for something. It can be preparing to go to work, school, or any other place. For example, I get ready before leaving home.
Exactly. And you can use it in many situations. You can say, "I get ready for work," or "I get ready for a meeting." It's a very common expression in everyday English.
The next one is take a break. This means to stop working or doing something for a short time so you can rest. For example, I take a break after studying for 2 hours.
Yeah, and this phrase is especially useful because everyone needs breaks during the day. You can use it when talking about work, study, or even exercise. It helps you explain how you manage your time.
Another phrase we talked about is spend time. It means to use your time doing something or being with someone. For example, I spend time with my family in the evening.
That's a great one because it helps you talk about your personal life. You can say, "I spend time reading," "I spend time with friends," or "I spend time learning English." It's a flexible phrase.
Now let's talk about a useful phrasal verb. Wake up. This means to stop sleeping. It's one of the first things we do every day. For example, I wake up early in the morning.
And this is probably one of the most common phrasal verbs you will hear. People use it all the time. You can also ask someone, "What time do you usually wake up?"
Another phrasal verb is wind down. This means to slowly relax after a busy or stressful time. For example, I wind down by listening to music before going to bed.
I really like this expression because it describes that peaceful time when your day is ending. It's not just relax. It gives the idea of slowly becoming calm after a busy day.
We also use the idea of work on something. This means to spend time trying to complete or improve something. For example, I worked on a project today.
Yes, and it's useful because people are always working on something. You can work on a task, a skill, a project, or even yourself. It's a phrase you can use in many situations.
Another expression is hang out. This means to spend time with someone in a relaxed way. For example, I hang out with my friends on weekends.
Right. This is more casual English, and you will hear it a lot in conversations. It's a natural way to talk about spending free time with people you like.
And the last one is figure things out. This means to understand something or find a solution to a problem. For example, I need some time to figure things out.
That's a really useful phrase because life doesn't always go perfectly. Sometimes we have problems or difficult situations, and we need time to understand what to do next.
So these phrases are simple, but they can help you describe your day in a much more natural way. You don't need to memorize hundreds of words. Start with expressions you can actually use.
Exactly. Try using these phrases in your own sentences. Talk about your own routine, your own experiences, and your own feelings. That's how these expressions become part of your English.
And now it's time to practice speaking. We want you to use what you learned today and talk about your own day.
Exactly. This is your chance to pause for a moment and practice expressing your own thoughts in English. Don't worry about making mistakes. Just try to share your ideas in a simple way.
Let's start with a few questions. First, what time do you usually wake up? And what is the first thing you do in the morning?
You can answer something simple like, I usually wake up at 7 and I get ready for my day. Try to add one more detail, like what you eat, what you do, or how you feel.
Here's another question. What is the busiest part of your day?
Maybe your answer could be, my morning is usually busy because I have work, or my afternoon is busy because I study and complete my tasks. Remember, there is no perfect answer. Your real experience is the best answer.
And one more question. How do you relax after a long day?
You can say, I spend time with my family, I watch something I enjoy, or I take a break and listen to music. Simple sentences are completely fine.
So pause the video and try answering these questions out loud. Speaking is a skill, and the more you practice, the more comfortable you become.
Exactly. Even a few minutes of speaking every day can help you improve. The goal is not to sound perfect. The goal is to communicate clearly and confidently.
And if you enjoyed this conversation and want to keep improving your English through real-life topics, make sure to subscribe to English Prime Podcast.
Yes, and don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who is also learning English. Your support helps us create more simple and useful conversations for you.
And before we finish, let's quickly remember what we talked about today. We discussed how your everyday life can become a great way to practice English and improve your speaking skills.
Exactly. We talked about different parts of your day, starting from your morning routine, your busy hours, your free time, and the feelings you experience throughout the day.
And the biggest idea from today's conversation is that you don't need an exciting or perfect life to practice English. Your normal day already gives you many things to talk about.
Right. Every small activity can become a conversation. You can talk about when you wake up, what you do, how you spend your time, and how you feel about your day.
We also learned some useful expressions like start my day, get ready, take a break, spend time, and wind down.
And remember, the goal is not to memorize everything at once. Try using these phrases in your own daily conversations, because practice is what makes English feel natural.
Your day is already a story. You just need to learn how to share it.
And that's what makes everyday English so powerful. Simple conversations can help you become more confident step by step.
Exactly. And remember, improving your English is not about being perfect from the beginning. It's about practicing, making progress, and using the language a little more every day.
Yeah, every conversation you have, even a simple one about your daily routine, helps you become a better speaker.
So keep talking about your experiences, keep learning new expressions, and don't be afraid to share your thoughts in English.
Because your everyday life already gives you so many chances to practice. You just need to notice them and use them.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us on English Prime Podcast. We hope this conversation helped you learn something useful and gave you more confidence.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep improving your English step by step. We'll meet you again in the next conversation.
Take care, everyone. Keep practicing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.